Some of the most common materials and textures you have to paint on your miniatures are things like skin, metal, leather and any kind of special effect. Today I'm going to show you how to paint each of those in a simple and fast way using only a couple of colors. Before we start though, what is your favorite way to paint your miniatures? Do you like the clean heavy metal style look, or is a battle worn warrior more kind of a thing? Let me know in the comments. Enough talking, let's start the tutorial. Here are all the colors listed that I will use. Feel free to change and adapt with things you have available. I base coated the Uruk Hai with Chaos Black and a Zenithal spray of Corax White. Painting dark skin for the Uruk Hai is kinda easy. We base coat everything, apply a heavy wash and then put layer after layer until we're satisfied. We start with Rhinox hide and base coat the whole model with it. Make sure to catch all the skin and leather parts. 2 layers should be more than enough. In the next step, we use Nuln Oil and apply a heavy wash all over the place. Make sure to catch the skin and leather parts before we return to Rhinox hide again. Now we paint all the raised areas and muscles on the skin. You won't see much of a difference, but don't worry about it. This extended footage should give you an idea about how to proceed on painting the muscles. After 2 layers, we grab a reddish paint like red terracotta from Vallejo and start mixing it with our Rhinox hide on our wet palette. I mixed it in a ratio of 80% Rhinox hide and 20% red terracotta. Then I started to paint 2 layers on all the raised areas we painted before, but this time I tried to paint less surface than before. We increase the ratio to 50% each and repeat the process painting less surface. Make sure you also catch his ears, mouth, his neck and all of his fingers. Our last mix consists of 20% Rhinox hide and 80% red terracotta. As you can see, I'm not painting in a very detailed way, but because we use such dark colors, the layers look still fine. The last layer will concentrate on the brightest spots of our miniskin with pure red terracotta. Now that the skin is mostly finished, you can stop right here or grab a very small brush and apply some scars with me. For this we mix 20% dead white into our red terracotta. Our color is now sent down a lot. And I try to paint some very small brush strokes while pressing my hands against each other and only paint while pulling the brush towards me. After each stroke I lift him up, reposition him again and the scars are placed all over the place. But I increase the density in areas that could be hit in a combat, like his arms, back and feet. At this point I also used some Abaddon black to paint his eye holes. We continue with the leather, and to get some color variation from the dark skin I choose a more orange brown, and we will kinda stipple and edge highlight all the leather parts now. I chose some Doombull brown and then I edge highlighted all the edges of the leather parts, and I proceeded to stipple and layer the parts that would be worn out the most afterwards. For the next step I took some Ushabti bone and repeated the process by edge highlighting all the most worn out leather parts. Be very careful though, this has a high contrast to our Doombull brown. To go the extra mile on the worn out leather, you can take a small brush again and make some small scratches. And we proceed to paint the scratches the exact same way we painted the scars before. And I also painted his teeth. The armor and weapons in the Lord of the Rings movie aren't shiny at all. They are cheap, used and of poor quality, but to be honest, they get the job done. For the metal parts we use a well-known metal recipe, but instead of lead belcher I used gunmetal from Vallejo to base coat all the metal parts. Then we wash everything with Nuln Oil heavily. I also washed his teeth with Nun oil to decrease the amount of colors we need for this tutorial. And edge highlight all the edges with any kind of metal silver color you have available. If you can't reach some edges or are afraid of messing up, just skip those parts. Now that we finished our shiny metal, you can stop right there and just take it as it is. Or you can continue and put some rust effects on all these metal parts. For the rust effects, we use some dirty down rust. Hands down the best rust color available. The trick to get some cool results is to mix some water into this color and paint layers on top of each other. The last layer should just be pure rust color. I also think that stippling is the best way to apply it. Now that's some grim dark stuff right here. To blend the orange rust texture with the shiny metal, we will now wash everything with Arkrux Earthshade. I still want to keep the shiny edge of the sword though, therefore I repaint it with some fresh silver after everything has dried. All Uruk Hai wear the mark of Saruman, and I'm going to show you how to replicate that in a fast and easy way, like 3 minutes for every mark. And we put it on the armor, on the skin, like everywhere, so we have the thing all over the place. We start with Ulsan Grey and carefully stipple around the eye sockets and mouth of the helmet, because we still need the contrast to those for him to look intimidating. Then I just paint a line for each and every finger. And stipple some more to create some volume. After all, this is paint on Uruk skin, therefore it is allowed to look like paint when we paint, if that makes sense. I highly recommend to use a grey and not a white color as base coat. For some final highlights, we mix in some pure white and stipple on the brightest spots. And our marks are finished. The Uruk Hai Berserkers are like the first guys that are right in front of the battle, so it makes sense to just spill some blood onto them. The problem is that the blood technical color from Citadel, Blood for the Blood God, is kind of shiny and very bright, so it distracts from the actual miniature itself. So you either have to mix it with a dark color or take something else. I decided to paint with dried blood from Vallejo. To get some realistic results, it is important to paint in layers, like with the rust color. Mix some water to it and stipple the areas. Decrease the amount of water with each layer while painting less surface. Otherwise, the contrast will be too high. In the last part, I will show you how to create some cool color effects using contrast paints and pigments. First of all, we need a brown color for our base to base coat it. And you can pretty much take every brown color you like and apply a heavy wash of Arkrux Earthshade afterwards. Then I usually take 2 lighter colors to our previous base coat and dry brush in layers, 1 layer of sentry dust and afterwards 1 layer of Uchabdi bone, while cleaning my brush on a piece of MDF wood. Now you can take any contrast paint, apply it onto your base in pure form, clean your brush and spread the paint all over the place. This way you can get some really cool color effects. And because our greenish ground, the tufts look even more convincing. Pigments are easy to apply. It's like a dry brush. Get some onto your brush or in some container and then spread it around on the places that would be hit with dirt. In the last step, we paint the base rim. I usually place some tacky stuff on my holder and place the base on top, which makes it possible to paint the whole rim easily. Our Uruk Hai are now ready to battle, and it took me about 2.5 hours for each and every one of them. So thank you for watching, and it really means a lot to me. And now I will shut up and you can have a final look at our finished models. My name is Sergey, this is my mini quest, and now it's yours.